Alright, so these are the rules for naming cycloalkanes, and then we'll look at some examples. So the first rule is determining the parent chain. So if your carbon ring contains more carbons than a substituent, then we go ahead and name that ring as the parent chain. Right, so when we start with just using the term cyclo. So if it has 4, it will be cyclobutane. Right. However, if a substituent contains more carbons than the ring, then the substituent itself becomes the parent chain. And then you would just name the ring as a substituent of the longer chain. Right, so it would then become, say, if you had an 8-carbon chain and a 6-carbon ring, it would be a cyclohexyl substituent. Now, if there's only one substituent on the ring, then that substituent, where that is, becomes carbon number 1, and when you name it, you don't need to worry about adding the number there. Right? So you could just say for toluene methylhexane. Right? So now the other aspect is if we have more than one substituent. So if we have 2 substituents, then you're going to name according to the alphabet, and then of course number in such a way that you get the lowest overall number. Now, it gets a little more tricky when you have more than 2 substituents. If there are more than 2, then you're going to determine the name with the lowest overall number, but when you list the name, you need to list it alphabetically. Right? So it doesn't matter where the number comes in, we're still getting the lowest number, but you want to list it alphabetically. Okay, so let's look at a few examples here. So the first one we have, of course, we need to use the first rule and determine which is our chain. So we need to first find the parent chain in this case. So we're going to look here and see that our ring contains 5 carbons, right? But our chain contains, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then this chain is going to become our parent. Now, we're going to number closer to the end with the substituent. So we start numbering where the chlorine is, and you can see that we number all the way out to 6. And so our chain is hexane. That's our parent name. And then we just need to basically add in everything. So we're going to list everything as we can with alphabetically. So it would be 1 chloro, 1 cyclopentyl, and then hexane. And there you go, that's the name for that guy. Now we can look at a separate example. We can look at, say, the guy here in the middle. And of course need to find the parent chain, and what we can see is that the ring itself contains more carbon than any of these substituents. So this will be your parent. Cyclobutane will be the parent chain. Now we need to start counting from the part that has the highest in the alphabet. So the one that's closer to the letter A is where we're going to start. So in this case, we would give number 1 the iodo group. I comes before P for propyl, and so therefore we can see that we need to number in this direction, and of course we want to number so that we get the lowest overall number as well. Right? So this would be 1 iodo, 2 propyl, and then cyclobutane. Alright, let's look at the last one. Now we have 3 substituents. So what do we need to do? Well, remember, we're going to number in such a way that we get the lowest overall number, and when we're going to list our substituents alphabetically. So the parent chain here is cyclohexane. We have 6 carbons. And so we basically need to count so that we get the lowest number for our substituents around the ring. So you can see that if you start counting 1 where the fluorine is, 2 where that propyl group is, 3, 4 where the chloro group is, right? That gives you 1 plus 2 plus 4, which gives you a total number of 7. And then if you instead count in the other direction, so let's just say we start 1 there, 2, 3, 4, you would see that you end up with a higher number, which would give you 11. And if you started at the chlorine, you would also note that you would get a higher number as well. So we need to start with the fluorine. And now you're just going to label everything out. So we're going to essentially list the names of all of these alphabetically. So 4 chloro, 1 fluoro, and 2 propyl cyclohexane. And there you go. Well, that's it.